Imagine this. Two managers walk into a room. One sits at the head of the table, silent, waiting for people to acknowledge their presence. The other walks in, shakes hands, asks how everyone is doing, and listens, really listens to their responses. Both have the same title, but only one is the real leader. Leadership isn't about where you sit or the title on your door. It's about something deeper, something stronger, something that can't be assigned or demanded, only earned. That thing, trust, and trust, not authority, is the true measure of leadership. A title can be handed out in a moment. A promotion can be announced with a single email. A nameplate can be placed on an office door overnight. But none of these things make someone a leader. They simply make someone a person in charge. Authority is assigned. It comes with rank, position, and hierarchy. It's enforced through rules, policies, and systems designed to maintain order. But trust? Trust is different. Trust is built over time. It cannot be mandated, bought, or forced. It is not a byproduct of status. It is the result of consistent actions repeated over and over again. Think about it. We obey authority because we have to, but we follow leaders because we want to. A boss may have the power to give orders, but if their team doesn't trust them, those orders will be followed out of obligation, not belief. People will do the bare minimum to comply, not the extra effort to excel. In contrast, when trust is present, teams give their energy, creativity, and commitment freely. They don't just work for a paycheck, they work for a purpose. Trust is built in small moments. It's built when a leader listens instead of talks. It's built when they admit they don't have all the answers instead of pretending they do. It's built when they stand up for their people instead of throwing them under the bus. Trust is earned not through grand gestures, but through everyday decisions. Decisions that communicate, I see you, I hear you, I value you. Yet, despite its importance, trust is often overlooked. Too many leaders rely on authority alone, assuming their position is enough to command respect. They believe that because they are in charge, people should listen. But leadership doesn't work that way. People may comply out of fear, but fear is not the same as loyalty. Fear creates silence, not innovation. It creates resistance, not engagement. It creates a culture where people do what they are told, but never more than that. Trust, on the other hand, unlocks potential. It encourages risk-taking, knowing that mistakes will be met with support instead of punishment. It fosters collaboration, knowing that contributions will be valued instead of dismissed. It creates an environment where people feel safe, and when people feel safe, they give their best work, their best ideas, and their best selves. Authority might get you obedience, but it won't get you commitment. Authority might get you results, but it won't get you loyalty. Authority might get you compliance, but it won't get you trust. There's a fundamental misunderstanding in leadership, the belief that authority equals influence. That the moment someone gets a title, people will automatically respect them, listen to them, and follow them. But that's not how leadership works. A title is just a label. It tells people what you are, but it doesn't tell them who you are. It grants you the ability to make decisions, but it doesn't guarantee that people will trust or believe in those decisions. It might put you at the top of an organizational chart, but it won't inspire people to go the extra mile, take initiative, or commit to something bigger than themselves. Think about the best leaders in history, the ones who moved people, the ones who sparked change, built movements, and left a lasting impact. Were they followed because of a title, or were they followed because of what they stood for, because of how they made people feel, because they inspired belief rather than demanded obedience? Real leadership is not about rank, it's about influence. It's about creating an environment where people want to be a part of something, where they feel valued, seen, and heard. It's about showing up consistently, not just when it's convenient, not just when there's an audience, but every single day in the small moments that build trust and connection. We've all seen people in positions of authority who aren't true leaders. They sit in offices, give directives, and expect results. But their teams don't rally behind them. They don't push themselves beyond the bare minimum. They don't feel motivated to contribute more than what's required. Why? because authority alone doesn't inspire. People may comply with orders, but they won't be engaged, committed, or emotionally invested. On the other hand, we've all encountered leaders who may not have a high-ranking position, but people naturally turn to them. They're the ones others seek out for advice, for guidance, for support. They lead by example, not by command. They create trust, not fear. Their influence isn't derived from where they sit on an organizational chart, but from how they treat those around them. A true leader doesn't need a title to lead. They don't rely on authority to gain respect. Instead, they earn it through their actions, through their integrity, through the way they make others feel safe, valued, and inspired. Because at the end of the day, people don't follow job titles. They follow those who make them believe in something bigger than themselves. There is a common misconception in leadership that leaders must always have the answers, always be in control, always project strength, that showing vulnerability is a sign of weakness, something to be avoided at all costs. But in reality, the opposite is true. Vulnerability is not a liability, it is a necessity. It is one of the most powerful tools a leader has because it creates the foundation for trust. People do not connect with perfection, they connect with humanity. When a leader pretends to have all the answers, never admits mistakes, and refuses to show emotion, they create distance between themselves and their team. That distance breeds skepticism. It creates an environment where people hesitate to speak up, fearing judgment or rejection. It fosters a culture where everyone wears a mask, where real conversations are replaced with surface-level interactions, where innovation is stifled because no one feels safe enough to take risks. But when a leader is willing to be vulnerable, something shifts. Vulnerability signals authenticity. It tells people, I'm human just like you. When a leader admits they don't know everything, they create space for others to contribute. When they acknowledge their mistakes, they encourage accountability at every level. When they express doubt or fear, they allow their team to do the same, creating an environment where people don't have to pretend to be invincible. Vulnerability is what transforms a leader from being an authority figure to being someone people trust. It is what turns a workplace into a community where people feel comfortable sharing their thoughts and ideas. It is what allows relationships to deepen, because when people see that their leader is real, they are more likely to be real themselves. And when people are real, they communicate more openly, collaborate more effectively, and take greater ownership of their work. The greatest leaders don't hide behind a facade of invincibility. They acknowledge when they need help. They seek input from their teams. They admit when they are struggling. They understand that trust is not built through power and control, but through honesty and connection. Because when a leader is willing to be vulnerable, it gives permission for everyone else to do the same. And in that shared openness, trust is built. Not just in words, but in actions, in culture, in the unspoken understanding that it is safe to be human. A workplace can have the most talented people, the most sophisticated technology, and the most well-designed strategy, yet still struggle to perform at its best. Why? Because no amount of skill or intelligence can compensate for a lack of psychological safety. Psychological safety is not about being nice. It's not about avoiding conflict or making sure no one's feelings get hurt. It's about creating an environment where people feel safe to speak up, safe to take risks, and safe to fail without fear of humiliation or punishment. It's about knowing that raising a concern won't lead to retaliation, that admitting a mistake won't result in condemnation, that offering an idea, no matter how unconventional, won't invite ridicule. In workplaces without psychological safety, people stay silent. They keep their heads down, avoid confrontation, and do only what is expected of them. They hesitate to ask questions because they don't want to look incompetent. They avoid offering suggestions because they don't want to step on anyone's toes. They hold back valuable insights because they've learned that speaking up comes with consequences. And when people are afraid to share what they know, organizations suffer, innovation slows, problems go unaddressed, mediocrity becomes the norm. But in environments where psychological safety is prioritized, something different happens. People bring their full selves to work. They share ideas freely, challenge assumptions, and collaborate without hesitation. They don't waste energy calculating how to protect themselves. They focus that energy on problem solving, creativity, and pushing boundaries. They know that mistakes are not career ending, but learning opportunities. They know that feedback is not an attack, but a tool for growth. They know that their voices matter. Leaders play a critical role in shaping this environment. It starts with how they respond to mistakes. Do they punish or do they coach? It's reflected in how they handle disagreement. Do they shut it down or encourage open dialogue? It's embedded in how they treat their team. Do they micromanage with fear or empower with trust? The message a leader sends in these moments determines whether people feel safe or stifled, whether they lean in or hold back, whether they do the bare minimum or give their best effort. Psychological safety is not just a nice to have, it is the foundation of high performance. Teams that feel safe innovate faster, solve problems more effectively, and adapt to change with greater resilience. They don't wait for permission to contribute. They step forward with confidence, knowing that their ideas and efforts will be valued. They don't hide mistakes. They own them, learn from them, and use them to improve. They don't fear failure. They embrace it as part of the process. A culture of psychological safety doesn't just make workplaces better. It makes people better. It allows individuals to take risks, challenge themselves, and push beyond their limits. It creates teams that trust each other, support each other, and bring out the best in one another. It is not a luxury. It is a necessity for any team or organization that wants to unlock its full potential. There's a fundamental difference between those who seek leadership for status and those who step into leadership to serve. One is driven by personal gain, the desire for recognition, authority, and control. The other is driven by a deep responsibility to others, the commitment to elevate, support, and protect the people they lead. Too often, leadership is mistaken for a position of privilege. Titles come with corner offices, higher salaries, and the illusion of power. Some leaders become obsessed with these symbols of status, using their authority to demand obedience rather than inspire trust. They focus on looking important rather than being impactful. They care more about how they are perceived than how they make others feel. But leadership is not about sitting at the top of a hierarchy. It is about lifting others up. It is not about accumulating perks. It is about creating opportunities for those around you. The best leaders understand that leadership is not about them. It's about the people they serve. They don't see their teams as stepping stones to personal success, but as individuals whose potential deserves to be nurtured. They listen more than they speak. They empower rather than control. They don't dictate from above. They roll up their sleeves and work alongside their people. They don't hoard credit. They give it away. Leadership that prioritizes service over status creates an entirely different kind of culture. In organizations where leaders focus on their own importance, employees feel unseen, undervalued, and expendable. They work to survive, not to thrive. They do just enough to meet expectations, but rarely go beyond what's required. There is little loyalty, little trust, and little motivation beyond collecting a paycheck. But when leadership is centered on service, everything changes. People feel supported. They know their leader has their back, that their contributions matter, that their voices are heard. They become more engaged, more innovative, and more committed. Not because they have to be, but because they want to be. When leaders put people first, those people, in turn, give their best. Service-based leadership is not about ego. It's about responsibility. It's the understanding that leadership is not measured by how many people serve you, but by how many people you serve. It's the belief that true power does not come from authority, but from the ability to create an environment where others can succeed. It's the realization that leadership is not a rank to be attained, but a role to be fulfilled with humility, empathy, and dedication. And the greatest leaders are not remembered for the titles they held, but for the lives they touched. They are the ones who put service before self-interest, who lead not with demands, but with care, who understand that the true measure of leadership is not in the status it brings, but in the impact it creates. Power is temporary. It comes with titles, positions, and authority. It can be assigned in an instant and taken away just as quickly. A person can be promoted to a leadership role today and removed from it tomorrow. They can be given the ability to make decisions, enforce policies, and direct teams. But the moment that authority is stripped away, what remains? Too many leaders rely on power to control rather than trust to inspire. They believe that because they have the ability to command, people will follow. They think that their title alone earns them respect. But respect that is demanded is never real. It is only compliance. And compliance is fragile. People may obey orders when power is in play, but the moment that power disappears, so does their loyalty. Trust, however, is different. Trust is not given because of a title. It is not built through policies or dictated through authority. It is earned. It is cultivated over time through actions, through consistency, through the way a leader treats the people around them. And unlike power, trust does not vanish when a title is lost. It remains because it was never dependent on authority to begin with. History has shown time and time again that the leaders who rely solely on power eventually fade into irrelevance. They may control people for a time, but control is not the same as influence. They may be feared, but fear does not create lasting impact. People may follow them out of obligation, but the moment they are no longer in charge, those same people will not hesitate to move on. But leaders who prioritize trust over power leave a legacy. They build relationships that last beyond their tenure. They create cultures where people are not just working for a paycheck, but for something bigger than themselves. They develop teams who remain connected and committed long after the formal leader has stepped away. Trust creates loyalty in a way power never can. When people trust a leader, they go beyond what is expected. They contribute not because they have to, but because they want to. They take initiative. They bring their best ideas. They give their full effort, not out of obligation, but out of belief. And belief is far more powerful than authority. Power can be taken away in an instant, but trust is something that lingers. It lives on in the way a leader made people feel, in the way they treated others, in the impact they had on those around them. It is not bound to a position. It is woven into relationships, into culture, into the very fabric of a team or an organization. The leaders who rely on power alone will always find themselves in a fragile position. The moment the title is gone, so is their influence. But those who build trust, who lead with integrity, who invest in people, who create environments of safety and respect, will always be remembered. Because while power is fleeting, trust endures. At the heart of leadership is a simple truth. People don't follow authority, they follow trust. Titles, ranks, and positions may grant someone power, but they do not guarantee influence. The true measure of leadership is not found in how many people obey orders, but in how many people believe in the leader's vision, feel safe in their presence, and are willing to go beyond what is required because they trust them. Leaders who rely on authority alone may achieve compliance, but they will never inspire commitment. They may control outcomes, but they will never cultivate loyalty. They may get results in the short term, but they will never build something that lasts. Because power is temporary. It can be given and taken away in an instant. But trust is enduring. It outlasts titles. It transcends organizations. It creates cultures where people feel seen, valued, and empowered to bring their best selves to the table. The best leaders understand that leadership is not about status, it's about service. It's not about perfection, it's about authenticity. It's not about demanding obedience, it's about fostering an environment where people feel safe enough to take risks, share ideas, and grow. Trust is the glue that holds teams together, the force that drives high performance, and the foundation upon which real leadership is built. When leaders choose trust over authority, they don't just lead for the moment, they lead for the future. They leave behind something far greater than personal success, They leave behind people who are stronger, teams that are more connected, and cultures that continue to thrive long after they are gone. And that is the legacy of true leadership.